Hey Life Groups, this is Pastor Mike, and I am super excited to present the first of a series of practical videos that are going to teach our groups about the 5 core rhythms that make up the DNA of a follower of Christ. So our belief as a church is that a fully devoted follower of Jesus is someone who abides in Christ, persists in community, serves the kingdom, lives generously, and pursues the lost. Now, you may have seen these words on your bulletins or in the walls of the church, but what do they actually mean, and how do we practically apply these things to our daily life? So we're going to get into that in these videos. So what we're going to ask you to do is to just discuss these topics with your group. Use these videos as a means of discussion. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down each rhythm into these bite-sized, few-minute teaching videos that are easy for you to incorporate into your daily life. We're going to start with the first rhythm of abiding in Christ. This comes from John chapter 15, where Jesus tells his disciples, "I am the vine, you are the branches." And he says, "Abide in me, and I in you." And he says, "When you do this, you will bear much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing." These are strong words. And as a follower of Jesus, this means that the quality of your life is determined by your proximity to Jesus. And it's about living a life of trust and obedience to Him. So the other 4 rhythms really flow out of this first one, right? While Christian community and generosity and serving and pursuing those who don't know Jesus, they are all necessary, but abiding in Him is primary. Okay? All the things we do, they need to be grounded in something solid, enduring, and eternal. And without a relationship with Jesus, our actions, they amount to nothing. So abiding in Christ, what this literally means, it means making our home in Him and allowing Him to make His home in us. It's when we give Him the authority to direct us in every single aspect of our life. And when we do, this leads to joy and peace and contentment and abundance. Like, I'm of the belief that Christians should be happier than non-Christians generally. So to abide in Him, we surrender authority of our life. We give that up. We give Him the authority to direct us. And this is what we call spiritual formation, where we allow God's Spirit to work in us and ultimately bring about the change in us, that we become more like Jesus in everything we do. But we also have to take this step of trust and obedience on a daily basis in order for God to nurture faith in us. So last March, our family vacationed in Florida, and we decided with 2 kids, 4 and under at the time, it was probably best to fly. And inevitably, there was a point where my wife and I, we had to entrust our possessions, our children, our very lives to the pilot. Right? As soon as we walked into the fuselage, it was an act of complete trust in the one who was leading us. Right? We allow God's Spirit to work in us, but we have to take that step of trust and obedience for God to nurture faith in us. There's a participatory nature in this process. It doesn't just happen naturally. So a life of abiding in Christ, it begins when we decide we're going to make our spiritual growth our highest priority above all other things. So as I wrap this video up, I want to encourage you to consider the practical steps that you can take to prioritize your spiritual growth and daily surrender to Jesus. Okay? And second, think about, are there specific areas in your life where you find it challenging to let go and allow God to work? And why is that? All right, so talk about that, and we're going to get more practical in the next videos in the months to come. We'll see you then.